At Option Genius, we believe that you deserve freedom, financial freedom, so that you have no more worries and more than enough money. Time freedom, so that you could do what you want, when you want to do it. And choice freedom, to live your life on your terms. But the system and Wall Street are rigged against us little guys. So how do we fight back? Well, my friend, that's what this podcast is all about. My name is Alan Sama, and this is the Option Genius Podcast. Happy New Year to you, Genius Nation. Happy 2018. Now we're back for episode 14 of the Option Genius podcast. But before we get into the meat of the episode, I wanted to just say that I have been very touched by all the comments, reviews, and emails that I've gotten about this here podcast. When I started, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do it, or if it's something that I should do. But we did it as a way to get the option selling message out there. And from what I am hearing, you guys have liked what we have put out. So thank you for the feedback. And it really makes my day. You know, a lot of times we get feedback from members about trades and whatnot. And it's always wonderful to hear that we've actually changed somebody's life or making a difference, even in a small way. So to even get more feedback, kind of like a feedback whore here, I want to get as much as I can. I'm willing to give you one of my training products for free for letting me know how we're doing. So last year we created two different trainings. One was called Trading Hacks, 7 ways to be a better trader instantly. And the other one is called Asked and Answered, which is 9 hours of me answering questions asked by people just like you about everything related to options. Now you get to choose which one of these you want for free. All that I ask in return is for you to leave a review for the podcast on iTunes. So if you have an iPhone, a pad, iPad, or a Mac, just go to iTunes and leave a review. Make sure to get a screenshot before you submit it. Email us that screenshot and which training you want. Or if you have a Windows computer, you can just download iTunes from iTunes.com on the internet and then leave a review from your computer. It's pretty simple. Just email us a screenshot of the review and we will get you all squared away. Okay, so hopefully we can get a lot more reviews just doing that. Cool. So let's talk about this episode. So what I wanted to do here was talk about some predictions for what I think is going to be happening in 2018. Now, normally around the end of every year or the beginning of the next, the world gets flooded with people giving their predictions about what's going to happen in the next year, right? Some of these actually come true. Some tiny percentage. But most of these are just for fun. I mean, these fortune tellers think that there's something might happen, and because of that, something else might happen. Odds of that are pretty slim. Most of these folks are just looking for some free publicity, which is really why I hate predictions. Most of them are not true anyway. I want facts. Right? Don't give me a guess. Give me some real information, something that I can use to maybe make an educated guess. It might be a guess, but at least I have something that I can base that on. So what I like to do instead is to look at trends, long-term trends. And I'm more of a macroeconomic guy than a micro, if you know what that means. One of the folks that I look up to in this field is called Jim Rogers. That's his name. He's the fellow that started the Quantum Fund with George Soros, and together they made billions using a very similar strategy. His whole philosophy is to see where the money is sitting in the corner and then just go pick it up. There's no need to fight for it, no need to work too hard. If you can see where it is, you can see what's happening or where the money will be, you just go and stand there and the money will come. Kind of like Wayne Gretzky, right? He said, don't go to where the puck is, skate to where the puck is going to be. Same thing with investing. It's a lot easier if you can look at the trends. Sounds pretty good to me. So then how do we use this information? Well, you take a look at what has been happening in the world, and then you compare it to history. And then you see what you can see. You try to make a guess and try to invest in that way where you can put in a little bit and then you can make a lot more. So looking at the minutia, the day-to-day news, don't do it. That's over a long period of time. That doesn't make any difference. Okay. You got to look at the big picture, the big stuff that takes years to develop. It could take decades to develop. That's what we want to look at. So prediction number 1. the increased usage of artificial intelligence. Okay, I think artificial intelligence is here to stay. And in 2018, we're going to see it a lot more. It's going to be a lot more in the limelight. It's going to be used a lot more, and people are going to be aware of it a lot more. You might not think that's important now, but before you know it, I think it's going to change the world as we know it more than it already has. And I'm not talking about 10 to 20 years. I'm talking 2 to 3 years max. Now, I have a friend who works at Verizon, okay, in the IT department. 1,500 people just got laid off in his department right before Thanksgiving, 2017. And this is the computer department, IT, right? Verizon, they can't work without networks and computers and software and all this stuff. These are all the techies and the nerds that they're laying off. So what happened? Did their jobs get outsourced overseas? Nope. A lot of the layoffs were overseas jobs that they had already moved overseas. These folks got replaced by computers and AI. Now, my friend explained to me that right now they even have computers that can write computer code. So code is basically the language of the computer, how you tell the computer to do something. So the computers can make more computers and then tell the computers what to do. It's kind of like, Terminator kind of stuff. Yeah, it's scary, but this is coming. My friend barely escaped the layoff this time, but he knows that more layoffs are coming. So he's polished his resume and he's looking to jump ship. But how long can he jump? Eventually, every company is going to do the same thing, right? So what else can get replaced by AI? Well, accountants, bookkeepers, customer service, most of the work lawyers do, right? I mean, look at the stock exchanges. Just a decade ago, running around, as market makers, as traders, as floor runners, all of them are gone. Most of the exchanges are all automated. You have cars that can drive without people. You have Tesla coming out with a truck that can drive itself. Eventually, truck drivers, taxi drivers, all these folks are going to be out of work, all because of AI. Now, there is a joke that I want to share with you by Warren Bennis. You might have heard this one, that the factory of the future will only have 2 employees, a man and a dog. The man will be there to feed the dog. The dog will be there to keep the man from touching the equipment. The scary part is that there are already factories in the world exactly like this. Prediction number 2. The stock market will continue to advance. So stock markets are built with an upward bias, right? So all things being equal, a market will rise over time, but not in a smooth line like in 2017. That almost never happens. S&P was up over 20% last year. That's awesome, but not sustainable. So I doubt we're going to see a 20% gain in 2018. I mean, it's possible, but the chances are very, very low. But we've had an 8-year bull market already. And I think that we end 2018 higher than we started. So we get at least one more year of this bull market. Volatility will increase a little, but not by much. Interest rates are going to stay low. And mainly that's because the U.S. will be fighting for capital investment. Now, over the past few years, investors in other countries, overseas investors, international investors, have put their money into the U.S. stock market because that was the best place for growth at the time. Their own countries, their own markets, their own economies, they weren't doing so hot. But that is changing. Other economies are picking up and growing more than the U.S. So that money that flew into the U.S. is now going to be flowing out of the U.S. back into those home markets. And because of that, the Fed is going to have to keep rates low to keep people borrowing and spending. And we do have a new Fed chair, right? This guy has to prove himself. So does Trump, because Trump put him in there. So they're going to have to do all in their power to keep us from tipping over into a recession. I mean, no Fed chair wants to come up into a booming economy and a booming stock market and then have the whole thing tip over into recession the next year. So for at least another year, the markets will rise. That's my prediction there. Number 3 prediction, oil will be higher. Right now, oil is trading around $61 a barrel. OPEC has cut production, and that has caused the rise to $60 because it was a lot lower. Saudi Arabia and Russia need to keep the price high for their own reasons, right? Because Saudi, because they're taking their nationalized oil company, which is called Saudi Aramco, public sometime in 2018. Russia, because their infrastructure is falling apart and they need the money as much as they can get. Now, yes, the shale folks in the U.S. will increase production as much as they can, and so that will keep oil muted so that it won't jump to over $100 like we had a couple years ago. But it will be trading above $60 at the end of the year. Now, overall, I think it should be another year of low volatility and steady moves for oil. Prediction number 4. China. China is going to continue to invest in the world and create partnerships with other countries to assert its dominance. So even with its billion-plus population, China cannot continue to be the cheap labor factory of the world. Their labor rates have been increasing, and so other countries are now taking over that role. More of these manufacturing jobs are moving to other countries. So China is fighting back by investing trillions into other countries to strengthen ties and trade. Now, they've already spent trillions in Africa, Australia, and the Middle East, countries that the U.S. and the West don't really want to go into. Now they're even luring Pakistan away from the U.S. And Pakistan, for those who don't know, has humongous stores of natural gas. Okay? It's only a matter of time before China will not need the U.S. or the West and will assert its dominance forcefully. So that's my prediction number 4. Now, prediction number 5. It's going to be a great year for option sellers. Okay, so this one was kind of easy because it's always a great year for option sellers. Well, no, I'll take that back. There have been some bad years, but mostly they're really good years. Most of 2017 was spent selling puts and just sitting back and letting the profits roll in. It was an easy year. Hopefully 2018 is going to be the same. But even if the markets change or get more volatile, since option sellers trade on a short-term basis, like a month at a time, we can easily adapt. Now, some option sellers did hate the market in 2017. If you look at the podcast episode that we did last, episode number 13 with Jeff Stanton, he trades on volatility. So he wants higher volatility in order to make money. If there is no volatility, then he has a very hard time. Now, I don't think you should be limiting yourself. You should be able to trade in high volatility as well as low volatility markets. In fact, I myself would rather have a low volatility market because there is less risk of a major move against me, right? Because when you have low volatility, the market's not moving that much every day. So if you had sold puts or put spreads this year, you would have done very, very well, extremely well. And I believe that the put spread will continue to work until we get some more volatility. So until then, keep selling, okay? Prediction number 6. Bitcoin will continue to rise. Bitcoin has gone crazy in 2017, and that's when really most people heard about it. But Bitcoin's been around for a few years before that, and now Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are in everybody's language. Everybody has heard about it. They might not know what it is yet, but they've heard about it. And why not? I mean, some of these coins went from less than $10 to over $1,000 this year. That's crazy. Is it sustainable? Is it going to happen again? Are they going to repeat those gains? Probably not. But is it going to keep going higher? I do think so, especially with Bitcoin. Now, I can't talk about all the cryptocurrencies because there are thousands and thousands and thousands of out there, and they're too volatile. For one thing, though, Bitcoin is supposed to be a currency, right? That's what they're called. They're supposed to be a measure where you can actually buy stuff with. But even though you can, and more companies are accepting Bitcoin, right now you can even buy real estate with Bitcoin in the US. But nobody really wants to buy anything with it. Why? Because it's going up too much. If you have the dollar that's, $1 turns into $20 tomorrow, who's going to spend their dollar? Nobody. Same thing with Bitcoin. People are not spending it because it's not stable enough. So until it gets stable, it's not going to be good as a currency. It's not good as a store of wealth either, but it is good as a trading mechanism. So yeah, hopefully put money in, it goes shooting sky high, and you could pay for your kids' college with it. That would be great. You could pay for your retirement with your Bitcoin. That would be wonderful. But I don't know if that's going to happen. It will continue to rise. That is my prediction. I still think it's going to go higher from here. And we did do another podcast episode. Actually, we did 2 podcast episodes on Bitcoin. One of them was how I trade Bitcoin, how I invest it. So if you have not got in, and if you want to, then take a look at that episode. I don't know the number exactly off the top of my head, but it'll show you exactly how to do it, the easiest way to do it. And then the other episode was on the Bitcoin scams. So you should listen to that one as well before you invest in Bitcoin, just so you are aware of the way people are scamming those who are trying to invest in Bitcoin. All right. The one thing to keep in mind, Bitcoin will continue to increase in terms of the number of coins out there. So right now, there is not a fixed number of coins. Okay. That number is going to continue to increase until 2020. So if you are buying Bitcoin, if you already have, or if you're thinking about it, I don't think you should be selling your coins until at least 2020. Okay? Put your money in, let it sit there. Don't worry about it. If it goes up and down, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like a gamble. Okay? It's kind of like a call option. It's either going to expire worthless or you're going to make a good amount. So hopefully you make a good amount, but don't do anything until at least 2020. That's my personal thing. Earlier this year, I put in about $20,000 into Bitcoin, and so far it's trading closer to 100. So yeah, it's been a good rise. It's made a lot, but I'm not getting out. I'm still sticking in there, and I'm going to be there until 2020, because only until then will you actually know what Bitcoin is going to do. Now, we might get some regulation this year or maybe next year. I hope they do, so that it becomes more stable. This volatility is not good except for people who are trading. We do have futures that just came online in December of 2017, and that is going to increase the amount of trading in Bitcoin. And so if you want to not actually invest in Bitcoin, but if you do want to start trading it, you can trade it with leverage with futures. So if you have an account with TD Ameritrade or E-Trade, you can actually go in, trade the future on leverage. So you don't have to if Bitcoin is trading, for example, at $20,000 a coin, you can go in and you can control one coin by only putting up half of that. So $10,000. So there's high volatility. If you're a swing trader, day trader, then this is something you should be looking at. And not too far in the distant future, they're probably going to have options as well. Now, I don't think with this type of volatility, it's going to be safe for option sellers, at least not the way I do it. But if it's there, that's more stability. That's more resources. And so, the big threat right now is that the government is going to come and outlaw Bitcoin entirely. The SEC is going to say, no, you can't trade in Bitcoin anymore. That's probably never going to happen because there is so much money already flowing into Bitcoin in the US. And this is called hedge fund money, And what is hedge fund money? Hedge fund money is money from very, very rich people, billionaires and multimillionaires. That's hedge fund money. And so when you have people that are investing in something, they are going to get on their phones and they're going to talk to their friends, and their friends are Congress people. So they're going to tell their friends, these Congress people themselves, they don't have to report what they invest in, but I'm sure a lot of Congress people have money in Bitcoin. And so for the government to come out and say, no, we're going to ban Bitcoin, that's probably not going to happen just because these people don't want to lose their money. The rich people don't want to lose their money. Neither does Congress. And so Congress wants to keep everybody happy so that they can come back for another term. And if that's the case, they'll come up with some regulation. They're not going to ban it entirely, but they'll come up with something to make it more regulated and to have it more smooth and hopefully protect the little guy. There was, I remember a couple weeks ago, Bitcoin was at an all-time high, close to 19,000. And then one night it just dropped all the way down to like $11,000. And there was this guy on YouTube, or I think he was on YouTube, where he was doing a live session. And so he was talking about it. He was showing on the markets. He was showing on the screen. And then there was all these hundreds and hundreds of people chatting and putting in their comments. And so many of those people were commenting that they had relatives, like their grandfathers and their uncles and their moms and their aunts, had all invested in Bitcoin at $16 and $17 and $18 and $19,000. So, the Main Street people on Main Street know about it and are putting money into it. It's going to be very hard for Congress to ban it. All right, folks. So that's all I have. I would love to hear what you think is going to happen in the new year. Email me your thoughts at help@optiongenius.com, and we can go back and forth. Maybe you thought that I was full of it on some of these. If that's the case, give me your data, give me your information, and we'll trade it together. Okay, I guess next year it'll take a whole year to figure out how well we did, but maybe we'll be back with another episode next year to go over what we did this year, how well we did, and then predictions on the trends for next year. All right, folks, that's it. So remember, trade with the odds in your favor. Want to know how to choose the perfect option trade for every trading situation? It's easy. Just download our free trading map and it'll tell you. Just go to optiongenius.com/map.